the Numinous Podcast with Carmen Spaniola.
Hi there, and welcome to the Numinous Podcast, where we have interesting conversations with everyday folks about the mysteries of life. I'm your host, Carmen Spaniola, joining you from the lands of the Insilkshin-speaking peoples of the Okanagan Nations, where I live on our garlic farm a short drive away from a small town known as Summerland, BC. My friends, I am delighted to share a few more episodes with you to close out 2025. I'm exhausted. You're exhausted. We're all barely keeping our heads above water. But what that means to me is that now is the time when we really need to reach for our resources. We need to reach for each other. We need to stay in contact with what we really care about. The people, the topics, the ways of being, the wisdom, the mutual care, the empathy, the visionary world building, all those things that light a spark within us and help us stay upright and mobilized in a world that's doing its best to keep us down. And so to me, in brief, that means I got to put out a podcast. I got to be in contact. I want to be available. I want to be here with you. I want to feel like we are in sync and in rhythm. So here I am with a few more episodes to help us focus. And then I'm going to queue up a replay of the Yuletide miniseries that I published last year. That way, as long as you're subscribed to the Numinous Podcast in whatever podcast player you use, it'll show up automatically for you in your podcast player. So if you are looking for Numinous Podcast vibes on the holidays, if you have a little bit of time off, there will be a mix of old and new episodes coming out between now and winter solstice. And then you can expect a daily drop from December 21st through January 1st with that replay of the daily Yuletide themed episodes that were all published last year. Hopefully that's just like way more convenient for you than having to scroll back through your podcast player or my website. The new episodes are oriented towards collecting yourself, ending the year in a good way, reconnecting with yourself and with spirit and with ancestors, and with setting our sights on 2026 and working with the astrology to put a little more wind beneath our wings, which sounds just great, doesn't it? It so does to me. But first, let's get ready for the holiday season, the season of hopes and dreams, and perhaps the failure to achieve our hopes and dreams, the season of expectations, both spoken and unspoken, the season of deep, bone-weary fatigue, in contrast with desire to actually do things that are fun or replenishing or memory-worthy or just relaxing during this time when it feels like there's not enough time. So let's turn our awareness inwards towards our own locus of control. Let's make things easier on ourselves by knowing ourselves, deeply listening to what we need, and having some courage about trying to do things maybe a little differently, trying to make some adjustments where things have not been working for us. So my guest here today is here to help us do just that and do it in a fun way, using humor with deep respect for the innate resourcefulness of the survival strategies we've used in the past. We're going to try something different this year though, right? Okay, so Beatriz Victoria Albina is a family nurse practitioner, somatic experiencing practitioner, and many other things. But notably, recently, the author of the best-selling book, End Emotional Outsourcing, a guide to overcoming codependent, perfectionist, and people-pleasing habits. Right off the top, I want to say, there are a few different audiences I'd recommend this book to. One, if you are someone who is very new to polyvagal theory and nervous system regulation, like you can't always remember which does what, okay, is it sympathetic when you're agitated or is that when you're sad, or if you're just learning about the window of tolerance, or as Bea chooses to call it, the window of capacity, or if you're just starting to understand your attachment style, this book is going to course correct you with some good intersectional feminism before you get sucked into a bunch of internet bullshit that will waste your time by making you feel like your attachment style is your identity and it's fixed, or your nervous system response is like an overwhelming problem to be fixed. It's going to cost tons of like time and money, or like more accurately, you don't need to waste your time feeling like you are a problem to be fixed. Okay. So if you're like in that sort of newer adopter to this discourse, newer arrival in this conversation, great book for you. And Emotional Outsourcing, it's called. The second group, I would say, I would recommend this book to people who have broad knowledge of the topics I just mentioned, but you have like misgivings for the very reasons I said, right? Like you're suspicious of overgeneralizing. You are highly suspicious of like white Western perspectives, and you want to hear what a queer woman of the global majority, who also happens to be a healthcare professional and a somatics practitioner, you want to hear what she thinks. Today is your lucky day. The third group of people who I think will really appreciate this book are professionals who are sick to fucking death of being saturated in the words of white boomer men from the fields of trauma recovery and attachment and somatics. Like, if you heard or you read about the like $10 million deal for Bessel fucking this fucking guy Vanderkolk, if you were just so fucking done with those industries platforming those men, including the publishing industry, by the way. Okay, sidebar. If you're new here, let me like bring you up to speed. We decenter men here. We don't give them our attention or time, much less our money or our vote. So it is so grating, like galling to read in the news that the Body Keeps the Score is getting another deal that's $10 million. Like, that era is so over. It is so 2012. Please, dear gods, it is now 2025. We are so far beyond listening to boomer white men talk about anything anymore, much less the core functionality of relationships and collectivism. I don't want to hear it. Seriously. Oh my God, stop. It's so like embarrassing. Honestly, I almost died of secondhand embarrassment for whoever did the deal for that publisher. Like, read the room. I hope this is a career-ending move for everyone involved. I hope they lose their shirts and it makes the rest of the publishing industry like quake in fear at the prospect of platforming another older white man about anything related to wellness. My lips to God's ear. Anyway, back to business. Okay, but heads up, this is pretty much how the rest of this episode also goes, because Bay and I like take off on a conversation that's sort of a combination of like when you crack the lid on soda pop and the bubbles are like hitting you in the face as you go to take a sip of, something carbonated. It's like a combination of that and like a Tasmanian devil that's about to break its leash. I don't know what happened. We just met like 5 minutes ago. We were like off to the races. So that's kind of just how this intro and outro seem to be going to. Anyway, you've been warned. I do want to say, though, I get pitched a lot for this podcast, and I decline like 99% of them. That might sound rude, but the thing is, the PR professional generally has like clearly not done their research, and I could probably track to the month last year what year people started using ChatGPT to just like pitch me based on a quick skim of my podcast show notes. Like they just clearly really don't understand this show or the conversations that like you as the listening audience and I as the host are trying to have with our guests. But this pitch from Bea's gal was different. I was like, why, yes, we are interested in hearing from someone who fled a war in her home country of Argentina as a child. Why, yes, we do want to hear from someone who lives with chronic Lyme. Yes, we are interested in highlighting the ways that certain illnesses like IBS and SIBO and polycystic ovarian syndrome map onto behaviors like people pleasing and map onto roles like eldest daughter or identities like woman of the globe. Like, yes, we want to we want to hear all about that. Why, yes, send me a copy of that book. And let me tell you, as someone who has easily read 100 books on trauma, somatics, and attachment, and I used to keep track, easily 100 in the past 7 to 10 years, because I'm always reading and listening to multiple books at once. I really should go back and count, but it's not an exaggeration. I've read easily 100 books fairly recently around these topics. And most of them are just, they're hard. They all just sound the same. But I enjoyed this book as a very easy to digest overview of all the related domains that are relevant to a conversation about wellness in 2025. Bea has been hosting her own podcast called Feminist Wellness since like 2018 or something. So, like, truly is having the right conversations. So, this book and Emotional Outsourcing, it's feminist, it's intersectional, it employs a social model of disability, which we love around here. Like, in other words, our current medical model of disability posits that like people are impaired or broken and people get cured of those impairments by experts in treatment, whereas the social model of disability that we're trying to encourage takes the approach that people are disabled by barriers, and solutions to those barriers are a shared social problem, not an individual failing, right? So Bea's book provides just like enough of an overview of the science of all these related domains like polyvagal theory and attachment without getting bogged down, but also provides enough of the socio-political context to like recognize that those theories are just that. They are biased white Western working theories of the day. They are not unbiased capital T truth, right? Even though they're very often presented that way. So I especially appreciate that part because even though I'm a somatic attachment reprogramming practitioner, I'm someone who works with people's core attachment signatures and how they show up in nervous systems and behaviors and relational fields. I really believe that in the next 10 to 20 years, we will incorporate a ton of new learning on adult attachment, and we'll see that a lot of the original research was really problematically like colonial, racist, sexist, and like all science, it was just a product of its time working in conjunction with patriarchal white supremacy culture. And I do hope that we'll do a lot less leaning on the neuroscience and a lot more contextualizing within like the socio-political atmosphere of the home and the society to better understand like what's going on with attachment there. Anyway, I digress. Again, let's get back on track, which is welcoming our guest, Bea, to the show. So, Bea, what identities do you lead with?
Well, the first one is delighted to be here. As I am, my full body just feels, when you meet someone and it's that somatic, that just deep sigh when your nervous system just attunes to someone. I just felt like we get each other. Bold of me to say, but
no, easy. Yeah.
Easy. So that's my first identity. So and that's just, you don't get that enough. I don't get that enough. I need more. So thank you. I am a queer, femme, white, Latina, double, soon to be triple immigrant. I can get into it. And I think my most important identity is mother to Wade Elizabeth, who is my all Black witch cat that my wife and I recently found in a garbage can.
Wow.
And he is like, I didn't know how much he would change my experience of being alive and being a person and being me. But like the gratitude I feel towards that 15 pounds of garbage cat is it's a lot. It's a lot. I know, right?
So I see the
the
saltiness. Yeah, it's so sweet.
I'm so grateful for Wade Elizabeth. I am a family nurse practitioner trained in public health, a somatic experiencing practitioner and author, a podcaster, a firstborn daughter who grew up very much quickly knowing how to take care of everyone else's emotions, like you often do. And I live at the intersection of somatic science, psychology, and feminist politics and disability politics. And I carry that lens into all of my work and still haven't stopped masking, don't intend to anytime soon. I am constantly aware of how power, belonging, and safety are shaped by systems that weren't built for many of us. And I am keenly aware of my own privilege as a white Latina who can easily code switch across many different codes. I keep that keenly in mind,
Okay, there's three things I want to highlight. Of course,
my
the
cat
triple
first.
Immigrant. I know. Yeah,
okay.
definitely, he's very present. The that. Also, when you say masking, because there's a
Oh,
lot of the
so much masking.
neurodiversity here.
I got that too.
And
Well,
so that's the question. But what I want
yeah.
to highlight as a household that is vigilant mask wearers everywhere,
Yes,
and
everywhere.
also not just for the public health, not just for the social proof and the sort of pride and like, hey, this is me signaling I care about public health, I care about you, but also it's so much more comfortable, it's so much more
Really is.
warm in the winter. I really enjoy it. So
Yeah.
I would love for you to share how that is for you as a mask wearing family.
Yeah.
And then when you say white Latina, I would like
Yeah,
for you to say more about that for our listeners.
for sure, for sure. Um, we'll leave the cat for last because there's so much
Yeah,
to
we'll
say.
come
But
back. Yeah.
I didn't want to start by bragging, so I didn't mention the ADHD. Because then people are like, oh man, you have a superpower. You can focus like a high speed train, but you can also fully disconnect. I mean, it's quite I experience my ADHD as the most stellar gift.
Mhm.
Like I call it neuromagical because I truly just feel so grateful. My wife can only unitask. The hell is
Right.
that? What are you doing? You're only doing one thing at the once? I can't try to get me to do one thing at once. You will fail. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not a possibility. You don't even know how many things my fingers are fiddling with right now. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But 12 things at once is my superpower. So yeah, no, I think on the you and I were talking about the list of books I still need to write in this lifetime, and one is about the intersection of emotional outsourcing, which we'll get into in a minute, and neuromagicalness, and how
Mm.
much that early masking leads us into emotional outsourcing and the overlaps therein.
Mhm.
I'm still ideating. I'm still like thinking it through and figuring it out. So I don't have a thesis statement for you yet,
Mhm.
but it's coming. I mean,
Mhm.
don't threaten me with a good time, right?
Mhm.
Write another
Yeah,
book.
totally.
Come on.
Yeah.
Um,
And how is it? So there's the masking that is camouflaging our neurotype in
right.
order to accommodate a neuromajority or what, neuronormies, whatever we want to call
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, and then there's also the literal physical mask wearing in the
Yes,
age of
which I
COVID.
love.
And there's
Yes.
overlap here. There's
There
overlap
is.
here because of so many comorbidities. If you have some neuro interestingness, the chances of you having some autoimmune interestingness or other
Uh-huh.
things is very high. And
Yep.
so we find these communities overlapping quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's really, I feel relief and kind of an exhale at meeting kindred spirit.
Yeah.
And also, like, what are we going to do about all the fucking other people that are not tracking the high risks of not wearing your mask out there? How is it for you is when you're out in the world?
Yeah, it is. Oof. I mean, it's generally I'm going to answer two questions at once. The double, soon to be triple immigrant is we saw the writing on the wall of the second Trump
Mhm.
presidency. I won't say his name because words are spells. Um, and so we're like, let's get the hell out of Dodge. My wife wanted to go to grad school. We moved to Toronto.
Nice.
Yeah, it was nice to get out of the US. It's not a cultural fit for this
Mm,
Argentine and New York. We're
okay.
both New Yorkers. We like to talk to other people. We like to interact with people. We like to like
Yeah.
connect in a way that's not the cultural norm here in Toronto.
Yeah.
I think
Montreal,
I'm being
maybe?
diplomatic and
No, yeah.
Spain. We're going to go to
Spain. Yeah.
Spain because as a South American, we can get papers really easily. We'd move
Nice.
to Argentina, but we're not
No.
insane. No, that's a
Yeah.
nightmare. I
No,
mean,
Spain. I
no.
just recommended Spain to another friend the other
Did
day.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. With the visa we can get, it's pretty dope. So we'll try it out. We'll see how it is. But to all of our point, Canadians don't really talk, in my experience, limited experience, only in Toronto. People don't communicate directly towards one another. So no one said
Mhm.
much about masking here, except
Mhm.
for people who are like, awesome.
Right.
So it's been pretty easy. When people have said some snarky stuff, here's the my sun sign is snark, also known as Leo. I was born under the sign of sass. I have a PhD in sass and a postdoc from the School of Sass Times. So they're gonna get it. So you know what, I joke, but I really lead with public health education, right? Like, I'm so curious why you'd question my mask, and more interestingly, why you think it's safe for you to not wear a mask. Do you not love
Mhm.
any children or elders? Do you not spend time with anyone with an immune compromise issue? Or like, one of my best friends has stage 4 breast cancer from being a first responder at 9/11. Do you think I should risk her health? Tell
Mhm.
me. And then I just
Mhm.
smile.
Mhm.
And I, it's a little jabby, but it's a little like, come
Mhm.
on,
Mhm.
come
Mhm.
on. I'm really, come on, in this day and
Yeah.
age. So I think I handle it pretty well because I'm very used to being very direct. I'm also, I've been a nurse practitioner for a very long time. So I'm
Mhm.
used to being the clinical health authority in the room. And I was, an epidemiology nerd for years before that. So I'm used to being like, here's what you're not understanding,
Yeah, that's
So
great.
I
Mhm.
do feel lucky that way.
Okay, so
Okay, great.
again, I want to wrap up I like interjected like three different
Oh,
questions in
I
just
love
in
it.
your, but tell us, what do you mean when you say white Latina? What is that
Ah,
identity?
well, my family's I'm from Argentina. We are not indigenous Argentines. We are not Quechua. We are not Incan descendants. We are not, Guarani. We're some white folks. And my mom's family has been in Argentina since the 1800s.
Mm,
And they are of Moorish extraction, largely. But you know, before then they were white Europeans, and they continue to be white Europeans living in the global South in Argentina. So
mhm,
I just want to be really careful to stand in the full understanding of the privilege of, like,
mhm,
I get to sound like this because I came to this country when I was to the US when I was a little kid. I get to look like this because we are of European descent,
mhm,
whatever, 6 generations back or whatever. But we can point to boats versus, someone of Quechuan descent who doesn't get the same privilege with the same Argentine passport.
mhm,
You
mhm.
know?
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for the clarity on that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you wrote this incredible book, and
Oh.
Emotional Outsourcing.
Oh.
Can we start with you sharing the definition of emotional outsourcing? Like, what is it, and what are
Yeah.
the symptoms
Mm.
that might
Yeah.
indicate somebody has a problem with that?
Yeah. Yeah. So emotional outsourcing is my term for the survival habit of chronically and habitually sourcing our sense of the three vital human needs: safety, belonging, and worth from everyone and everything outside of ourselves instead of from within, at a great cost to self. These patterns often show up as our codependent, perfectionist, and people pleasing habits because somewhere along the way, our nervous system learned the only way to stay safe, to stay connected, was to scan other people for approval or cues that we were doing life right. We were doing the performance of self like correctly for them. So signs and just, I don't use the word symptom because so much of my work is about taking codependency, which as a concept really came up in the American milieu through 12 steps and the war on drugs. And it is very linked to the 12-step disease model
Mhm.
of alcoholism, and thus is applied to codependency. Let me keep the both of us from getting some hate mail. I'm not talking about 12 step and the treatment of substance use disorders. If it saved your life, I'm so freaking happy. And I'm on the other side talking about my side of the street: Al-Anon, CODA, ACOA, etc. So it feels very important to me to say, because I
Mhm.
know the programs are free, right? And so
Mhm.
that's what a lot of people can access. And I'm
Mhm.
not.
And you do a great job in the book too of being like,
Oh,
so let's
thanks.
situate this in the war
Listen.
on drugs. Let's situate this, and again, you're very, yeah. Just as people have heard here, the book does a great job of going into more depth about your perspective there. There's a
I
lot of respect for people who are using substances and however they're
Oh, sure. Well, I
managing,
mean,
right?
it's like codependency. Using substance is a brilliant survival skill. Like, way to not be present in the room when the room sucks. I mean, it's a brilliant response to trauma.
Hmm.
I have a lot of respect because it's such a great way. That's a terrible way, but a great way. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah,
Right.
totally. Totally. Yeah,
Right.
totally. So you don't use the word symptoms.
Right. Because I'm trying to extract us from the disease model.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't think it's a disease. It's a survival skill and it's brilliant and it's amazing. And we praise it so we can start to do something else.
Yeah.
So signs might be things like chronic second guessing, feeling responsible for other people's feelings, struggling to say no, apologizing chronically when you haven't done anything wrong and you're not even Canadian, living with it's important. You got
Mhm.
to clarify. Living with a ton of resentment and exhaustion because you live from the framework of overfunctioning and self abandonment, right?
Mm.
That giving and giving and giving and giving. And at its core, this feeling like you don't know who you are, what you want, what you prefer, what you desire, much at all about you without someone else's validation and outside of someone else's role for you, right?
Mhm.
Good girl, good wife, good mom, good employee, good boss, good,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Well, who
Mhm.
am I?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back just for a
Yeah.
moment to like before you wrote the book, perhaps even
Mm,
before you started your podcast,
mm,
Feminist Wellness. It's been around
yeah.
for a long time. So, I mean, like,
Yeah.
let's go back. Was there a defining event in your life or a moment you can remember when you
Mm,
realized if you didn't lay down your own perfectionism and people
mm,
pleasing and overgiving and overfunctioning,
yeah.
you were going to pay a price you couldn't afford?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I was born on August 3rd, 1979. I mean, we can start. um, but no, there wasn't really one like dramatic collapse. It was more of a slow realization that my nervous system was truly, and my health and my nervous system were paying the bill for all the overfunctioning, the people pleasing and the people proving and the overdoing I was doing. And like the interest rate was getting way too steep. Um, and the final challenge was getting myself out of an abusive marriage with someone who was very keenly interested in taking advantage of my emotional outsourcing habits.
Hmm.
They were a person who came from great wealth and great entitlement, and they were very happy for me to like be the servant and do all the
Hmm.
things, and including the emotional labor and the physical labor and the like co-op shift and the working, like going to the
Hmm.
grocery store and the cooking and the clean. Like they were yes.
Hmm.
And they also were very committed to gaslighting me into believing I was always the problem. And this is something that is we are keenly at risk of, right?
Hmm.
Because that aligned so well with my emotional outsourcing fears that I
Hmm.
was wrong, that I was broken, that there was something inherently wrong with me,
Hmm.
right? Which was part of my anxious attachment, which was part, right? It's part and parcel
Hmm.
of all of it. And so I got stuck and trapped in that, right? And
Hmm.
luckily I found my way in back to somatics, which I had studied at Oberlin in the 90s,
Hmm.
right? And came back around to and in that process deepened my then 10-year relationship with plant medicine, which I had stepped away from. The way that abusive relationships take you away from all the things that feed you
Hmm.
so that they can continue to control you, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so it was really just really starting to see the larger picture
Hmm.
was really I finally realized like I can't keep going this way. I can't keep hitting my
Hmm.
head against this wall again and again and again.
Hmm. Are you willing to share a little bit about some of the overlap with your physical health? Like you live with
Oh,
some chronic illness and
oh,
disability, like
yeah.
as many of our listeners do.
Yeah.
People with POTS, people with SIBO, people with
Yeah.
ME/CFS,
Oh,
people,
yep.
my own kid, fibro and
Oh,
long COVID and things like
yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
we see the um, queer, neurospicy, disabled, and these, masking
Yeah.
behaviors in
Yep.
relationship if we can put emotional outsourcing kind of also in that relational mask.
Yeah.
I'd just love to hear your
Yeah.
experience and your thoughts as from
My
that
poor
perspective.
tummy. Oh, my poor tummy. I mean, geez Louise, what a mess. It's actually wild when I look at my overall health now, even in perimenopause. compared to like in my 30s living with a schmuck, like just to like cut to it. Like I had chronic heartburn so bad I couldn't sleep lying down for years.
Yeah. Wow.
My digestion was such a hot mess, like chronically constipated, which if you think about it, I eventually I was in such functional freeze, which is a nervous system mixed state. I go into tons of detail in the book, but effectively it's your nervous system has one foot on the gas of sympathetic activation, fight or flight. There are lions coming. Oh my God, run, run, run. And one foot on the brake of dorsal disconnect. Your nervous system's like, you know what? In Spanish, we say, no doy más. I give no more. A little heavy on the melodrama, but what are you going to say? But it really was that like, I have nothing more to give. I am at depletion. Oh, and now you're screaming at me and I'm in sympathetic and then I'm collapsed in dorsal and then sympathetic and then collapsed in dorsal. So that functional freeze is when you are functional in the world. By medically functional just means you're doing the activities of daily living. You're getting up, you're showering on occasion, you're wearing relatively clean clothes to work, you're like getting on the subway, you're paying your bill. You know what I mean? Functional, not in a capitalist framework. Just and the freeze part, I was effectively shut off to my own emotions, my own needs, my own wants. I was like in survival mode, and my tummy was like, oh, survival mode. Listen, about that migrating motor complex in your small intestine, the one that moves the food along till it can hit the peristaltic wave of the large intestine. We're going to be that's out of business. That's out. We're not doing that.
Work with that. We're going to work with wax pellets now. You are going to
that's correct.
Like, basically.
That's correct. Studies show that that's correct. And food is not moving through you. But I also wasn't chewing. So when you're in functional freeze, so mastication is the first part of digestion. Chewing your food mixes amylase, protease, right? The digestive enzymes into your food. So it starts breaking it down before it hits your stomach, right? So I was eating in sympathetic or dorsal. That's not where mammals should be eating. In panic or in checkout, we should be eating like you're on a patio in Spain having a 3-hour lunch, because of course you are, because there's a different relationship to capitalism, right? And like that was a never happening. So I wasn't chewing, I was wolfing. And then my small intestine was like, forget about it. And so of course I got SIBO layered onto the IBS I had from childhood, right? Like, it's
tale as old as time.
Tale as old as time. It's wild how I can go to 90s Disney in like a millisecond.
Easy.
God, neural pathways.
I still cried when Ariel on the Rock, part of your world,
please,
the wave
stop?
crash.
Because just please, please.
Okay.
Right?
So in the heart of your book, you share about these 5 common survival selves, these personas we adopt to get along. I think our listeners would love to hear the myths of the 5 survivor selves. Can you briefly describe them?
With endless joy. So let's situate ourselves. As always, these are not labels or identities. They are skill sets we developed to attempt to feel safer when we learned I'm not good enough as I am. 1, the saint. So this is the person with perfectionist habits who believes they have to do everything right in order to be worthy of love and attention. And so the person living through the saint self is constantly seeking validation, external markers of success. And there's this endless, almost paralyzing fear that they are making the wrong choice, as though that was like a real thing. What even is that? But it's the belief, right? So they got to be always right, always holier than thou. They're the saint. They are the untouchable, right? The scapegoat. So the scapegoat, blame and responsibility for everything are piled onto them. This is often the firstborn, especially the firstborn daughter, in my experience. And so what happens? I mean, Pavlov, right? In socialization and conditioning, everyone's telling you, oh, it's on you. It's on you. It's on you. You're like, I guess so. I guess it's on me. So you end up taking on the blame and responsibility. What was that?
Well, I was just gonna say, or they're not even telling you. You just know they're thinking
You just
it.
know it. Yeah, yeah. There's
you
that
can,
because of the mind reading, right?
Yes.
On
Yeah.
account of the mind reading, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so what we end up doing, and this is fascinating, right, is the person with the scapegoat habit will internalize fault as a way to feel in control. Because if you're causing the problem, maybe you can fix it too.
Yes.
Whoa, that one's kind of a
Ouch.
mind effer, right? And it all sucks. But the martyr is, so the entire identity or the entire experience they're in becomes about sacrifice, right? So this is the overfunction, the give and the give and the do and the do and like hold everything together. And so the belief they come to step into is I only matter when I'm indispensable, and people need to know that I'm the martyr. That's the interesting one. So the saint doesn't need to tell you, but the martyr does. And so the underlying fear, right, is that if they stop giving, they'll be dispensable and unlovable. So this was my ex-mother-in-law who would we'd all come over, like a bunch of people for like a holiday, Easter. The table would be perfect. The food would be perfect. The food was catered, but she still would be in a full panic. And like her hair's a mess. She's in a pajama, making sure that we saw her putting herself last every single time.
Right.
Every single time. There was never a time that we didn't see her a mess and then sweep herself into perfection, because that was part of that role. And there's a lot of guilting and shame. Oh, I've been all day. I've been trying to set this table.
Yes.
Nobody gives a fuck. Who cares about?
And
but
why all day? Yeah.
But also, right. And she'd also have like 3 service people like standing around, but she had to do everything.
Right.
Fascinating. So then the fixer, and so this is the problem solver who believes their value lies in having all of the answers. So this person will often overstep boundaries, a la, so you know what you should do.
Right.
And so this person avoids their own issues by always being the advice giver. And their worth depends on being needed, but being seen as this, like the opposite of the martyr. Oh, I'm fine. I'm good. I don't need any help. I'm good. I just, I kind of know everything and I'm doing everything but not in the like long suffering way, but in the above it all way.
Right. Like, oh, I just went ahead and did it for you.
Oh, yes.
You didn't ask and you didn't want.
No. Yes. And then if you tell them you don't want. Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. It kind of is, where it's like, I can see you're really busy. I can see you've got so much going on. I'm just going to do it because I'm stressed out. It's not happening. Right. And so let me just do it. You didn't ask me to do it. You don't have to use it if you don't want, but I'm just going to do it. And now you're in a terrible position because you feel bad. Right. You didn't get it done. And also you're feeling bad because you don't want to tell me you don't like how I did it. And this is probably mostly me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned.
Noted. Yeah.
Doopy-doo. Anyway. Yeah, for sure. And I used to do this a lot, giving unsolicited medical advice. Oh, you know what you should do? Yeah. Oh, I can hear that cough. That sounds like. Right. And I have learned, frankly, a more feminist way to move through life, which is to say, hey, from my training, I have some thoughts about that rash. You let me know if you want to hear them. And everyone always says yes. Who doesn't want free medical advice?
Tell me about the rash.
Tell me about it. What do I need? But instead of, it's just a consent model, right? Yeah. It's just consent. Yeah. Oh, and you know what was the hardest part of unlearning that was when people say no. Because then that part of me that's like, but I need you to validate me because I'm going to be impressive and you're going to say, oh, I didn't know it was leprosy. And then I'm going to be impressive and you're going to, right?
Also, it was consent, meaning I want you to consent.
Right, but the fixer part does not want consent. It wants you to say yes, and then I can feel important.
Please
get with the program, Carmen.
Yeah.
Right. I need you to say yes to regulate my nervous system that I can't regulate because I'm getting into sympathetic because I want to feel important to you and I can feel important to you because I have this knowledge.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Oh,
Meow.
oh my goodness. Okay, was that
Meow.
all 5?
No, there's the
No,
victim.
there's what? Yeah, the victim. Tell us about
Always
the victim.
last. I
Yeah.
purposely leave the victim for because everyone does.
The
Victim. So so this poor victim lives in a constant state of crisis because they learned early on they only matter when they're suffering. So they've adapted to feeling helpless as a way to get attention and to avoid the greater pain of being ignored or dismissed. Do you want to see an interesting group that I've noticed this in is the children, and I choose to work with AFAB humans. So I'm going to say women, women who are the daughters of healthcare providers.
Oh,
The daughters of doctors or nurses who had 3 people die in front of them today, or who sawed off someone's leg today, or do you know what I mean? Like did
yeah,
deep wound care today.
yeah, yeah,
That they are only when, oh, it really hurts, oh, my tummy, oh, this, oh, I'm so sad, oh, huge. They
yeah.
have to be so sick to get,
Right.
oh, all right, well, like a modicum,
Yeah.
because we live in a broken healthcare environment where their healthcare provider parents are frickin' maxed
Mm-hmm.
after a 12 or 14 or 40-hour shift and don't
Mm-hmm.
no, though they have no more to give because
Mm-hmm.
they laid it all down at the hospital or the clinic or the whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so the signal cry of their daughters is just constantly on. Yeah. Yeah.
Or they lean into the fixer. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. I'm fine.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It cuts to
Yeah.
the hyper independent, which is another part of emotional outsourcing. I'm fine.
Right.
Don't worry about me. I'm fine.
So you write that these survival selves, these adaptations,
Yeah.
they're rooted in shame. And so in
Yeah.
your experience with clients, where does that shame usually come from?
Yeah. So to both be broad, macro and then micro. Macro, I mean, there is a profound culture of shame when we're living in late stage Puritanism, says the girl from Rhode Island. When we're living under white settler colonialism, late stage capitalism, and the patriarchy. I mean, these systems are inherently shaming, right? Because you're too fat, but you're also too thin. You're too light, you should get a tan, but don't be dark. I mean, I don't need to give America Ferrera's speech from Barbie, but we know what we're talking about here. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's
totally.
we live under this inherent culture of shame. I mean, yeah, my brain just went to this summer in Spain, and everyone's topless on the beach. And in the US, we've got 4-year-olds in bikinis,
Yeah.
lest the shame of their not even nipples, like, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we go micro to the family setting. So very often shame forms early through attachment ruptures, like when we don't have enough support to repair the rupture. What happens? The tiny nervous system experiences misattunement, inconsistency, emotional neglect. The brain doesn't say my caregiver isn't available. My caregiver just worked a 12-hour shift at a hospice. My caregiver, fill in the blank. No. And we get into this in chapter 2 of the book. It says there is something wrong with me. There must be, because mamas and papas are kind to babies, but I don't deserve it. I am not worthy of it. So the difference between guilt is I did an oopsie. Shame is I am the oopsie. I am the problem. Right. And that misattunement gets read in as, well, guess you're not worthy of love. Right. So all these layers of internalized belief that your wants, your needs, your preferences, your beliefs, your desires are a burden, are a problem, are wrong and bad. And again, we can situate that within heteronormativity, fat phobia, ableism, patriarchy, races, etc., right? To layer it on. And so shame it's not a personal pathology. It's what happens when human mammalian needs aren't met in a world built to serve only a select few.
So you flag that like buffering, ruminating, overfunctioning, these are some of the ways that we might abandon ourselves because of, as you say, there's no support for that that deep kind of fundamental shame of like, be different, no, not like that, like that we can just,
Right.
we aren't enough or we're not doing enough. So we do these other things.
Yeah.
Can you describe like some of those are really common behaviors, I think, and so what are they?
Yeah.
What can we do instead?
Yeah. Right on. So first of all, they're brilliant. They're brilliant and amazing adaptations that I would like to support you to no longer do. But we got to start from like, damn, what a brilliant little 6 and 8 and 42-year-old, right? Like,
Right.
way to not fall down like the deepest well of loneliness and suffering. But
Yeah, way to not
instead,
succumb to the systems.
listen,
Yeah.
day by day at this point, right? So, buffering is numbing through whatever keeps us out of the feeling we don't want to feel. If whether it's anger, for human socialized as women, we buffer a lot against anger because who likes an angry woman? Nobody.
Only me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
also love angry.
woman.
I actually also love angry women. Come hang out. Let's be
Yeah.
angry together. Who wants to break something? But so buffering is numbing through productivity, scrolling, substance use, caretaking, overthinking,
starting new businesses, like just whatever we do.
So resent your implication, ma'am. Writing more books.
Yeah.
As the world burns, whatever.
Yeah, more credentials.
Let's do
more training. Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Get out of my journal. Herman. No, but totally, right? Oh my God, my 20s and 30s were just like bufferingvilleusa.com. The number of letters after my name.
Yeah.
And like, it was fun. I'm a nerd. I love to learn, but I was very much learning instead of feeling for a long time. I'm whatever, I'm also at this point, I'm like, okay, fine. I got through and now I can come into consciousness. Fine. Yeah. Hey, ruminating. So ruminating is looping on what people think, replaying conversations. It's the nervous system trying to manage what is coded as threat through mental overprocessing. So coded as threat. I talk a lot about how mindset and mental ways of trying to like get out of overfunctioning and get out of emotional outsourcing don't actually work because emotional outsourcing is written into procedural memory or implicit memory, which is body memory. So like, I don't think about how to drive a car. I just get in it and go because it's a procedure. I know how to do the procedure. I don't think before I put an IUD in. I just do it. You know what I mean? Like it just happens. And so that
you must be very well practiced at that.
I have put so many IUDs in.
You don't?
Man.
Wow, amazing.
Nah, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it sounds hellish, but
okay, sorry.
Pretty easy. No, anyway, I mean, just listen, just boop. But anyway, the point is, rumination is something is coded in the brain as threat. So I said to my partner, would you like to have sushi? And that person made a face, which was the same face my dad made 40 years ago when I made a suggestion he didn't like. And so my 4-year-old self has coded that face as doom is nigh, meaning love will be retracted from me because there's nothing scarier to a little kid because with all due respect, I used to be a little kid. We're useless. Do you know what I mean? We can't drive. We can't get food. What's a money? We're not giraffes. They're born pretty competent. And so we need to keep love. And so if something smells like the thing that was a risk to love, oh, it's fine. Don't worry. We don't have to go get sushi. If you want burgers, we can go have burgers. And then for days, why did I know he doesn't like sushi on a Wednesday. Why would I have suggested that? And the brain's trying to keep us from doing it next time. And the brain's thinking if I can think about it over and over and over again, then I can somehow I talk a lot about magical realism in the book, right? It's like this magical thinking that like I can somehow fix it. So then overfunctioning is taking on way more than is ours in an attempt to prove we're worthy of connection. So what do we do instead? We pause into sensation. So we need to build moment by moment awareness through tools like mindfulness. Note, Mama did not say meditation. As an avid meditator, it is not for all brains.
Right.
It is
Thank you.
not. Yes. Mindfulness, though, is. Mindfulness just means when you're going down the stairs, feel the railing in your hand. Oh, it's kind of cool. That's nice. Feel the wood stairs. Oh, they're hard. That's nice. Be present. That's available, right? In more and less degrees, depending on what kind of brain we got. So we start there. We start with building moment to moment awareness and presence in our body. When we're emotional outsourcing, well, we're outsourcing. Our own felt experience of life is not our North Star. Everyone else's facial expressions, their words, that is what tells us if we're safe or not. So we need to learn to reprioritize connection with self, and the way into self experience is sensation.
Mm-hmm.
So that in the moment we can realize, oh, my brain's ruminating. Oh, I'm grabbing my phone to doom scroll. Oh, I'm starting to do other people's tasks for them. Pause, orient to the room, which I detail in the book. I have free audio tracks where I walk you through orienting, but it's really at its simplest. You look around the room and you let your nervous system experience there are no lions here. So you literally just look around there. We don't have to complicate it, but beyond that, I do complicate it beyond that, but you don't have to.
Well, and it can happen in this was coming up for me just today. I was ruminating on something,
Oh,
which
yeah.
mine was like a future life progression of like,
Oh,
I
sure.
need to be more direct with this person. I need to make sure we're aligned. And so I'm ruminating on how am I going to deliver this in a way that's very connecting and that is very contact nutrition rich. So I'm like playing over a conversation over and over. And every time in my mind, it keeps degrading into me, just like looping the like, why can't I be direct? Why can't, and I realize, and so this is happening as I'm coming back from doing chores on the farm. And I was walking up this hill and I was just realizing like, oh my God, I am so weary. I am so weary. But then I had the thought of like, I'm weary also in my mind. I'm tired of looping on this imagined conversation that I need to have.
Yeah.
And all I did was I realized as I was walking, trudging up this muddy hill that I was leading with my feet and my feet were so heavy. And all I did was I changed and was like, I'm going to lead from my thighs. I'm going to notice my thighs and my knees, my large muscle groups bringing me up this hill. And then I suddenly was like, oh, I don't feel so heavy. I actually feel strong. And I went up the hill so much easier and then was like, boop, 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 on with my day. And I haven't thought about that conversation since, even though I'd been looping on it for probably 40 minutes. So it was kind of like a really nice evolution because when you first start learning about mindfulness or when you're first orienting, you're getting into somatics, it is like, okay, 5 things I can see, 4 things I can hear, the whole all that stuff.
The whole thing.
Eventually it's just that shift of like, oh, look what I'm doing and look at the parallel processing that's happening here between like my mental, I'm like exhausted mentally, I'm exhausted physically, but I am a locus of power. I am a locus of control of like how I'm going to move through this. And I actually do have a resource inside and it's literally just large muscle groups. Just pay attention to stop trying to lead with the weakest part of you. And it just changed everything. So with practice, that can happen in a much more seamless and like, integrated kind of way. But I think it is good if people are just learning about that. Orienting, it's one of those things, it seems it's like so simple. Do I really have to belabor this? But actually it is good to embellish it the first while, right? So
first couple
we'll
hundred
make
times.
sure we like,
yeah, it is really helpful to have, also when we are in these old spins, buffering, ruminating, or over functioning, I think one of the things we're looking for is structure.
Oh, good point.
Right. And so orienting is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a structure. It's like a set of things to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Structure creates coherence, and coherence is very grounding. Everything
Right.
likes to come into that organized field of
Very much.
this, that. So, okay, can
Yeah.
we talk about this direct communication I need to have? So,
Let's do
boundaries,
it.
limits, and
Yeah.
direct communication can be really scary, even for those of
Sure.
us who, like, I will say from the outside, people would not presume that I have a problem with people pleasing. I think most people would be like, Carmen pleases herself. And so that is not hard. But even for someone like me, who I
Yeah.
think people would consider quite direct, it's very scary, especially when it's not. I find it especially when the power dynamic is a little less like our role power isn't so clear. Like it's different if it's like, oh, I'm clearly an up power because I'm a boss, or you
Right.
are a freelancer contracting with me,
Right.
or that sort of thing. But when it's like,
Right.
oh, I'm collaborating with a friend, I'm still up power if I'm white and she's a person of a global majority. But as a friend, we don't have formal role power. So, like, then it's getting sticky. But also, direct communication can carry real risks, especially for those who come from targeted communities, especially like you write in your book about how enforcing a boundary is a privilege. So, what would you say to our listeners, intersectional feminists, to be aware of
Mm.
when both enforcing and receiving boundaries, particularly when it comes to like friendships,
Mm.
allyship, workplaces where we're seeking to connect and collaborate across difference, and like the role power, it's not like parent child. It's not
Sure.
like that sort of thing.
Right.
Tell us about this method or manner of approach that intersectional feminists will want to keep in mind about boundaries, limits, direct communication.
Yeah. So, so I think about boundaries as nervous system thresholds. And that, to your point, like some of us are punished culturally, systemically for speaking up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially folks of the global majority, folks in marginalized bodies, bah, bah, bah. And so telling someone to just set a boundary without naming its power structures at play is its own kind of gaslighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very thoughtless.
Right.
So what I always ask is, what's the relational safety here?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Are there consequences? And what are the differing consequences on either side of this conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Is there like backup and collective support? Right. And so being really conscious that the conversation has to honor that boundaries aren't just like personal growth goals, they're political experiences shaped by who gets to say yes with ease and no without retaliation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really vital to keep in mind. And then I also just go back to like the very base definition of what is a boundary. In my world, it's how I will take care of me and has nothing to do with the other person and what
Mm-hmm.
they will or will not do. It's my verbalization of my own limit with a potential consequence. If you keep raising your voice, I'm going to leave the room and we won't be able to return to this conversation until you can speak to me in a conversational tone because I will not be yelled at. So that's the sort of general take on boundaries. But then we back up and is the Latina yelling at you or is she just excited? The
Mm-hmm.
number of times people have heard me speaking in Spanish and been like, are you like, what are you so pissed off about? And I'm like, I'm not pissed off. I'm in love with the world. My people speak in poetry and spells. Everything's like everything's a big deal. I'm not angry. Oh, but we're in Rhode Island or Toronto where like people, you know what I mean? We're in a different cultural milieu.
Mm-hmm.
And so how this is so complicated. It's so simple and so complicated, you know, and I love
Yeah.
talking about it. But it really, as if your analysis of your social location places you in the position of net more power,
Mm-hmm.
getting really curious about why you're setting the boundary and sort of what your goal and intention is in doing it or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes, I do know what you mean.
What are you
That's
up
a great
to
question.
and
What's your
why?
intention?
What
Yeah.
are you up to?
Yeah,
What are
and
you doing?
what will it take care of in you? Because
Yeah.
again, it's like, are you just
Yeah.
self-regulating with control?
Right?
Which again, like this is going to be a lifelong unpacking because as a white woman, fifth generation settler, as a yeah, all of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For sure.
That is supremacy culture is in me. So
Yeah.
constant interrogation of that is just
Yeah.
part and
Yeah.
parcel
Yep.
of being an adult.
Yep.
And sometimes, yes, I am self-regulating through control and I need to do that work. And then there are some times where it's like, well, actually, we do have a collective goal and we all need to achieve this goal. And as it
Right.
turns out, guess what? The white person does tend to have more capacity because
Yep.
I'm not dealing with these layers. So it's like
No.
I actually can do more and should
Yeah.
and I'm happy to,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. For sure.
that's a good discernment piece is like
Yeah.
why this boundary. Okay,
Why for?
so
Yeah.
what okay, a person then is going to assert a limit using clear, direct communication instead of being indirect or people pleasing. Can you
Mm-hmm.
just give a few examples, few little lines, few little scripts,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
ways that you say something clearly, directly?
Oh, yeah. 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 Oh, the ways you say it or what the process to go through is? Because we
Oh,
can do
please give
both.
us both. Please
Okay.
give us
I'm
both.
very process. Okay. So,
Okay.
so we start by letting your body know you're safe enough. So I don't talk about safety as some sort of absolute because, like, again,
Mhm.
I mean, our whole conversation
No
informs that
safety under
statement. What,
capitalism and white supremacy.
please,
Yeah.
please. So letting your body know you're safe enough, meaning, right, safe enough, but orient and ground first, speak second. So really doing that mindfulness work, that self-awareness work, that regulating work on a safe Thursday morning alone in your apartment so that when it is time to set the limits and then the boundary, you know what safe enough to speak feels like in your body.
Mhm.
And then even one slow, deep breath where you feel your feet, like you did coming up the hill, where you like went into the big muscles and you let that muscle, like the tensing and relaxing, bring you into awareness and presence. Even that can change your vagal tone, right? And it gives you more access to language because it activates the prefrontal cortex, takes us out of amygdala or whatever fear or worry we might be in and into more actual cognitive capacity. So those sort of like setting the groundwork things are really important. And if this is a place, you know, that you're listening and you're like, I really want to work on this, I recommend that you start with teddy bears, meaning set some limits out loud, hear yourself going through the process. I'm orienting, I'm grounding, I'm feeling my feet, I'm doing this process. And then Mr. Teddy Bear, who my grandma gave me when I was the day I was born, I need you to, right? And like hear it because that's how we build neuroplasticity. That's how we create new neural grooves in our mind that say, it's okay for me to speak up. It's okay for me to have opinions. It's okay for me to. So practice at home where it is the safest of the safe enough. So then in the moment, I feel like short, clear sentences that are sensation based are the best way to go. Thank you, but that doesn't work with me. I need to pause here and really make your practice about like, you don't need a dissertation, right? You don't need to over justify, over explain. Your body needs clarity and kindness and gentleness. And I really recommend when people are doing this, the safest enough teddy bear practice, remembering boundaries are resentment prevention. Boundaries are the greatest gift of clarity that we can offer in a loving, mutual, interdependent relationship. Boundaries are profoundly feminist and profoundly kind because then you're not walking around being mad at your best friend because she did something dumb that you didn't tell her was dumb and you didn't tell her was upsetting. So she keeps freaking doing it, but you don't say anything. And then you're calling the other friend, can you believe that Janet? But like, yo, you're putting all this mala onda, all this bad energy into the world on her name. Speak clearly, speak kindly, speak directly. Again, what is the 12th time I've said that words are spells? right? So saying, when you do X, I feel. If you continue to, I will,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you do X, I will do Y. That's the math of a loving, clear boundary. If you do X, I will do Y.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the greatest gift. Wrap that up with a bow this holiday season. You know what I
Totally.
mean? Please,
Totally.
because
I think
nothing
I can
better.
totally imagine journaling this as well. When you say short,
Yes.
clear, direct sentences,
Oof.
my husband is very good at speaking in short,
Yeah.
clear, direct sentences. When we get into
He's,
arguments, both of us
uh,
will monologue and go on too long. We have to use a timer.
oh, cute.
But
I like
I
that.
think that the practice of
Yeah.
writing, practice of getting it down, because again, the rumination is like, oh, I'm not saying it quite right. I'm not, if I just, and the over explaining, the over justifying, the like, let me give
Right.
you the big picture.
Right.
As a listener, I can't take it. I can't
Right.
take it as a listener,
Cut
but
it out.
why it doesn't come clear if I'm
Yeah.
not feeling, as you say, like the grounded, the
Yeah.
centeredness. I don't have my own coherence yet.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
these are excellent.
Can I add one piece of a nerdiness here?
Yes.
Why, thank you. Prosody of voice. So,
Oh, vocal prosody. We talk about it all the time.
oh,
Yeah,
okay,
go
great.
ahead.
So everybody knows about it. But as a mammal, you know that old saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Turns
Mhm.
out that was science. So, like, you know how you like grab your pup or your cat and you go, "You're such a stinky bad baby. You're the worst dog in this whole house. How dare you poop on my rug? Oh, how dare you, such a bad, bad dog." And the dog's like, "Yo, this is awesome. This human loves the shit out of me. This is the freaking best day of my life. Getting my ears rubbed like this and hearing that tone of voice." Turns out it's
Mhm.
not just the baby animals, it's the human animals too. Our
Mhm.
nervous system responds to the tone and then processes the word second.
Yeah.
The other thing to remember is that words don't mean words to other people the same way they mean words to us.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
what to you sounds like a kind, it sounds one way, might not be interpreted in my body the same way as
Mhm.
words, but tone is pretty universal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's
back
like
when,
it plucks your nervous
yeah,
system like strings on a
yep,
violin. It
sure
lands
does.
directly on someone
Yeah,
else's nervous system.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
absolutely a skill worth
Yeah.
developing.
I was a birth supporter. I worked in birth for many years, and I've been at births across the world. And a birthing parent in Mali makes the same noise as rural Mexico.
Oh,
Right, you
oh,
grab
that's
the
sweet to
baby and
know.
and
Yeah.
a little like right.
Mm,
It's universal. So
mm,
trust the tone and when we energetically drop into our heart and speak actually from that place, everything
mm-hmm,
goes so much more better. And you
mm-hmm,
need the
mm-hmm,
script a lot less because you're in your heart.
mm-hmm,
That's
mm-hmm.
the real
Beautiful.
work. Yeah.
Okay, so as
Yeah.
we're wrapping up here, we'll move to the
Oh.
last question. Well, actually, the penultimate question
Oh, good.
is, of course, about weight, Elizabeth.
Listen.
Can
Oh,
you can you share a
God,
little
that
bit more
cat.
about how important the unconditional an access to some unconditional relationship or love, or even with a cat who may not be like super affectionate
Oh,
in
oh.
the mammal
Yeah.
way, but like how
Sure.
important
Yeah.
is it for our nervous systems to have the corrective experience of some
Oh,
unconditional relationship in our lives?
geez. It is. It's unfathomable how healing it is.
Mm,
It is truly one of the greatest gifts in the world, the relationship we can have with our siblings, the animals.
mm,
Um, the kind he comes, Wade Elizabeth comes and greets me at the door every time I come in.
mm,
Get out of town. I mean, I feel so honored to be entrusted as his human. It's anyway, I could wax poetic about him for months, I fear.
mm,
But the unconditional love, when we grow up with this wound of not enough, not good enough, that our authentic self is somehow not the right self to be bringing to the table. Cats and dogs and ferrets, like they don't care who you're performing.
Mhm.
Wade doesn't know my titles, my credentials. UCSF, where's my treats, right? Like where the scritch, he likes an under the chin scritch. Like he doesn't care who anyone thinks I am on the internet. He doesn't care how many Instagram followers I have. He doesn't care if I get him the right present because he just wants a paper bag and some love.
Mhm.
And so it allows us to sort of land in this understanding that the expression of our heart is all we need.
Mhm.
That's all we need to be, is the self we are in our heart. Right? I believe that the true our true goal here on this earth as humans is to be our authentic self from our big open heart and to show up as vessels of love and beacons of love everywhere. And animals show us that.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
unconditional love, yeah,
Mhm.
it shows us just how true it can be, you know?
Mhm. Beautiful. Okay, so
Yeah.
the last question, always the same.
Oh,
We're crowdsourcing ideas here.
I love
How are
it.
you coping with grief and rage these days?
Oh, more about Wade, sure. Get the cat. Um, but I'm letting myself feel all of it in waves instead of trying to perform resilience. So when this pandemic we are still in started, I was living in Brooklyn. Um, and could see morgue trucks from my house and couldn't stop crying, thinking about all the senoras who I would volunteer with at the free clinic and the food bank in South Brooklyn were dying in droves, the way
Mhm.
people of the global majority tend to do when anything happens. And I had a very hard time functioning in from this understanding that these people's lives are being decimated to greater degree than anyone else. And I started setting up like appointments to cry,
Mhm.
like setting time on my calendar, not as a way to negate or shut it down the rest of the time, but as a way to say to the part of me that was grieving and full of rage and full of anger and full of all the right things,
Mhm.
I love you, I honor you, I respect you, and you deserve this time every afternoon or every morning to go in that to Prospect Park to find. I had this big tree who I got consent from, and I would just tell her all of it. And I would just sit there and sob. And God bless New York, because no one looks at you twice. And I would just sob and hug her and tell her all of it. And so my practice looks like scheduling the time for that as a gift of honoring and shaking, crying when I need to, letting the rage move through me instead of getting trapped as tension. And then setting the parameters very thoughtfully of orienting before and after a practice
Mhm.
as a way to regulate my nervous system so I don't leak, so
Mhm.
I don't bring the rage to putting the dishes away, or my sweet wife for putting her shoes in the middle of the hallway, or like, do you know what I mean? So it doesn't leave me at anyone, but instead can be metabolized. And I think grief and rage, like emotional outsourcing, are intelligent responses to a deeply unjust world. And when we honor them, we stay connected to our humanity. And so I'm also leaning on community, because these emotions were never meant to be carried alone. And in my current physical reality, that community is online and on the phone and on WhatsApp. Um, but really building community of people who get it,
Mhm.
so that the feelings can just be honored without so many words. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm. I know what you
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
Very aligned, very aligned.
Yeah.
Practices
Yeah.
we use in the Numinous Network, and listeners of
Yeah.
this podcast long time know
Yeah.
that the monthly grief vigil that we do around
Yeah.
the new moon in the network is exactly for that. And,
Mm.
we negotiate with those parts of us that do need acknowledgement and do need to be heard. And then it's kind of like, and the rest of the time, I need to be able to live my life. I need to be able to
Yeah.
move forward. And
Yeah.
so, you know,
Yeah.
you are my trusted ally and, you know, trusted friend and companion.
Yeah.
And, but also you cannot be my bus driver because we're not
Right.
getting
I need to
anywhere.
scramble an egg and send an
Yeah, I still
email
gotta
and
live under
get light
capitalism. I still
bulbs.
have to be
Yeah.
functional. Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Bea, this has been an absolute delight. I can't wait to continue growing our
Yay.
connection and
Me too.
relationship. It's so beautiful when
Yeah.
the symbiosis happens. We can find each other and kin. Thank you for helping us to metabolize these topics and these strategies, especially
Yeah.
right before the holiday season. It's been wonderful to have you on the show.
It's been a true delight for me too. So thank you for all you are and all you bring. Thank you.
I will definitely be following Bea with much interest in the future. I'm sure you will too. I'm already looking forward to more from her. What a fascinating person. What a hoot. Love, love, love. I'm going to link to her website and all her socials and all of that in the show notes. She has a lot of excellent resources that are, immediately implementable. So I highly recommend you buy her book, gift her book, ask your library to bring in her book and listen to her book. She does a stellar job of reading the audiobook. And so, yeah, it's gift giving time. I would like to humbly recommend that you call your local independent bookstore and you ask them to bring in copies of my books, Spells for the Apocalypse and The Spirited Kitchen, because they both make excellent gifts. Because books in general will make excellent gifts in this day and age, friends. Part of the rise of fascism is the disdain for literacy and the common intellectual. And so one of our best anti-fascist tools we have is our library card, is our bookshelf. So anyway, I truly believe both of my books are very beautiful artifacts, but they're also very useful. And those two principles married together were so important to me and have always been since I first moved away from home at the tender age of 17. One of the first things I bought to sort of like decorate my home was a little diary, beautiful journal that had a William Morris print on it and a quote on the cover. And I thought it looked very fancy on my bedside table. And the quote was a quote from William Morris, who, if you don't know, was just a wonderful 19th century English textile designer and like wallpaper designer and painter. He was a poet, and he was also a radical socialist. He became a really, really radical and like social reformer. But yeah, he was a socialist. He was anti-capitalist. Anyway, the quote on the journal that I never forgot was, "Have nothing in your house that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful." Words to live by. And that was from his 1880 lecture, The Beauty of Life, which was a lecture that emphasized the quality, purpose, and aesthetics of everyday objects as a core tenet of the arts and crafts movement, and a philosophy against shoddy industrial goods, but also against the squelching of the creative impulse within humans to not only like improve their lives through invention, but also the desire to ameliorate conditions through joy and pleasure and beauty. So I feel very, very strongly that those are values that I've imbued in the creation of my books. And I think your beloveds will feel that when they receive them into their own homes. And of course, you could purchase them anywhere books are sold, including online. But if you call your local bookshop, you'll also be gifting them with your patronage by having them bring it in for you. And you will be gifting your local economy by directing your dollars to keep people employed in your local area. So it's a many birds in one hand situation if you bring it in to your local bookshop. So wonderful. As I said, stay tuned for more new episodes to drop in the coming weeks. And then the 18 episodes from last year's Yuletide miniseries, that will start populating your podcast player very soon. And we would love to have you join us in the Numinous Network for the holiday season, where we have fancy workshops happening every Saturday including wreath and garland making, a fancy decorated sugar cookie class, a healing dolls class. We're going to make an old crone of winter or a kayak doll for the altar, as well as a workshop to make shrines for the beloved dead before the vigil, which happens every year on December 30th. Plus, during those 12 days of Yuletide, we're dropping in for altar time live each day on Zoom for half an hour each day, 10 to 10:30 a.m. Pacific. Starts on solstice, December 21st, goes through till New Year on January 1st. We're going to gather at the altar to light a candle, and we'll drop into a guided trance journey focused on that day's Yuletide theme. It's really beautiful. It's a lovely way to put your soul work at the center of your days, to end the year well, and gather yourself together to cross the threshold into the new year. And just a heads up to save the date, January 17th, if you time it so that you join the Numinous Network, 30 days, like pretty much any time now, on January 17th, if you're still in the network, the 30 days later, that's when I'm doing my intuitive planning workshop, day-long retreat. The astrology for that day, y'all, it is so locked in. It is so on point. It's so perfect. I chose this astrological election to leverage the potent astrological energies of creation and vision and action. So I hope we'll see you in the network. Check out the live schedule for the Numinous Network at carmenspanyola.com. CarmenSpagnola. Until next time, take care.